Hello there. Welcome to the episode number 12 of DevsWall. Today we have another special guest. He is a iOS senior developer with more than 10 years of experience in the tech industry. Simple as that because we're going to see more details right now. I want to welcome to this conversation Adrián. Adrián, how's it going?
Hector, good
Everything
night.
good?
Everything good here.
A little bit cold, right?
Yeah, we're a little bit cold. The temperature is dropping, but but we're good.
Excellent, excellent. Here is a little bit cold as well. Well, at the moment of this recording, it's we're on the 21st of December. At the moment of this recording, so it's actually is the starting of winter. So yeah, it's kind of getting cooler here. How's it going? How's it going so far? Everything good?
Everything good with a lot of work, luckily. But yeah, we are doing new things in the tech side, but um, everything's good with
Excellent,
my
excellent.
kid and the
Perfect,
family.
perfect, perfect. That's the
Waiting for
most
the
important.
Christmas and the holidays.
Excellent. Yeah. Again, we're not just arrived to Christmas here, but when this goes when this video goes live, it might be somewhere around January or something. It might be
Okay.
cold still, but
Well,
and it's good. All right. So the question I ask everybody: how did you get started? How did you get involved in the tech industry, specifically in the software area?
I studied software engineer in the university, and my career was software engineer. After graduated, fortunately I was hired by a company here in Morelia to develop a website, a web application for these industries where you build houses and apartments. And this company needed a software and a developer for a tool that they could manage all the clients, the customers, the providers, etc. So I started developing web applications using Java with GSP, and at that time that was in 2010. And after that, I started to development, but I always wanted to develop for mobile, and I looked for that opportunity, and it appeared in 2013, I think. I started to develop for mobile directly for iOS.
Nice, nice. And you didn't have any experience prior than that when you started developing for mobile, or how was that?
No, no. I started, as I said, developing for web applications, but when iPhone came up in the 20s, I liked the idea to develop for mobile, and I started to watch tutorials, courses about iOS developing. But in the companies that I worked on, there wasn't projects where I could develop applications. So I started to look for positions in other companies that allow me to develop in iOS. So I found a company here in Morelia called Interactive, and I started doing or providing support for the Cinepolis application here in Mexico
Nice.
as junior developer in iOS. And I started to develop applications in iOS specifically.
All right. But you didn't have any experience. So they hired you just because you were a software engineer and you started learning? How was that
Yeah,
learning curve? Or did you started taking some courses or
yeah.
just
I mean, I started with tutorials, creating this very new application that's Hello World, and
Mhm.
creating the applications to show an alert and store values in the list, and start to make to be familiar with components in iOS. And but it was different. I mean, developing for a web application, it's completely different, and you have to think differently for iOS. It's not the same components. It's not the same experience using an iPhone or a phone in general than if you have a website and in a cursor and a mouse where you can navigate through the entire app in a website. It's different. So I needed to change the way how I thought at the moment I was creating an application.
Nice, nice. Yeah, certainly it's different. Although there's a big trend of hybrid mobile development, which is kind of similar, but I know that it's for native applications. It's totally different, or it was totally different at that time. So you went through that new project or job just without any experience in iOS or mobile development, and started learning with the you just got some tasks assigned and you needed to do them, and so you
Yeah,
learned on the
exactly.
way. Or
Yeah, exactly. I just okay, the company said, okay, we need that an iOS developer is junior. So I, without experience in previous
okay.
companies, I raised my hand and said, okay, I want to develop for iOS. I have this knowledge that is just tutorials, and I know the components. I know how to create an application from scratch, but I don't have the experience to send an application to the App Store or creating an app with a complex in projects with more complex. I mean,
Yeah.
than it's needed for a company as senior. So they gave me the opportunity, and we're here.
Great, great. Now let's go to the topic. Now we're talking about mobile development in iOS,
Yeah.
iOS development, iOS programming, whatever, however you want to call it. So you say you are experienced in iOS development itself, just iOS. You don't have experience in Android, right? Or
I tried. I did a few things in a junior level, but it didn't catch me. I didn't. I think. I mean, um, I went directly to iOS, and I did something with hybrid languages. I did something with Android at that time. Right now, we know Flutter, we know Dart as official language for Android.
yeah.
But I, as the same way I go to iOS, I did the same for Android and for Flutter or Dart. I took few tutorials to know the technology, to know what you can do with that technology. But for me, I didn't went more than tutorials, and I keep
All right.
developing for iOS. And
So your
but
main, yeah, so your main focus was iOS development, and your main projects were basically developing on the
on
iOS
iOS,
platform.
yeah, my main skill is iOS
Nice,
development.
nice. Now,
But yeah, but
what?
I know the technology. I mean,
Okay, yeah. So what we might go and talk a little bit about some other surrounding technologies on mobile. But before, what can you tell me about iOS programming itself? Because it hasn't been the same 10 years ago, or maybe 8 years
yeah,
ago, as it is now. You were, I don't believe you started using the same frameworks, the same languages as you use now, right?
no. For example, when I started in the 2013, 14, the language that it was used, it was Objective C. Objective C was the first language that iOS development used to build the iOS applications. Objective C, it's close to developing in C++. It's a
Okay.
low-level programming. Basically, you have the header file and the implementation file. For those developers who has or at least are familiar with C++ developing, they know that we have the .h file and the .m file that is implementation. Um, uh, but we have in the 2014 Swift appeared, and in Swift came with new improvements that you didn't have in Objective C. And it was a transition that is happening right now. It's not ending yet, but for example, in Objective C, you had to be care of the memory. You had to be careful with releasing memory, the alloc memory, and in the code was really tough to read, or
Okay.
but Swift came with this improvement. You have a code more readable. You don't be too aware for releasing memory, or at least in the scope that you are developing. And there are a lot of changes. Even when you was the well, with in parentheses, we still have applications that that are using Objective C. It's not N. We have complex applications that is still using Objective C. But right now, it's really weird that a new application it's building in
In
Objective C.
Objective-C.
Yeah, we used Swift with all these improvements of in the code, in the compiler, and some structures that Swift improved from Objective C, and it's easier to learn Swift than Objective C, honestly, and so that helps a lot in the iOS development right now.
All right. So the applications that are still exist on Objective-C is because were large applications and they were kind
Yeah,
of legacy or something, but they still
yeah,
need to do some kind of support. So
yeah.
now it's the
Because I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. I'm just it's not that the new applications are built or some applications decide to build on Objective-C. It's just because there is nothing that you cannot do with Swift that you can
Well,
achieve with.
it depends. It depends because, for example, an advantage that Objective-C has is that Objective-C has this a better interoperability with C++ and Objective-C. I mean, Objective-C has a better interoperability with C++ libraries. If you want to handle, or if you want to use the applications, for example, for something that use microprocessors, or something in low level. You can do it in Swift, but you would use libraries or other ways to communicate to a little low level. That's an advantage of Objective-C, for example. But we still have applications for that. So it depends the applications that you would that you are going to create.
Nice. So in general terms, it basically most cases you will use Swift. I mean, you can almost do most of the things with Swift and all the components surrounding it. And
Yeah, I mean, for the current market right now, we see in for example, application like Instagram, Uber, TikTok, I don't know, all these applications. I'm pretty sure that are built in Swift.
nice,
I
nice.
I think that they still have few models there in Objective-C. That shouldn't be surprised if we see that some applications of this use Objective-C, but I would say that could be the 10% of the entire applications.
All right. And has there been during the release of Swift until now? How I guess that the overall developer experience was really simple with the release of Swift, right? Rather than compared to Objective C. I mean, for the developer, it has been easier to adapt or to learn Swift than it was for
Yeah,
using Objective C, right?
yeah, it would be easier to learn Swift than Objective-C because Swift appeared as high-level program languages. And you can, if you, for example, if you develop in C# or in JavaScript or even in Java, it would be
Something familiar, maybe.
something familiar.
Yeah.
Yes, if you see the syntaxes, the declaration of variables, classes, structs, functions, it should be really easy to learn Swift.
Has there been many changes since the release of Swift until now in terms of all the different versions or?
Yeah, yeah. For example, I
Oh,
had a lot
nice.
of I
I,
had
I'm
a
I'm asking just simple newbie questions because I don't know almost nothing about Swift or Objective C, so I'm gonna ask those simple questions.
yeah,
Excuse me.
sure. No, it's okay. But for example, when Swift appeared in 2014, I mean, I started to develop in Swift 2.2. I think nowadays we have Swift 5.5, and all the transitions between those versions, there were a lot of changes in the syntaxes, in the name of the functions in the framework. I have experience migrating entire applications from one version to another just between Swift. I mean, if you have, for example, I developed an application for a store that was selling furnitures, and we had the applications in Swift 4, I think. So migrating that applications to 5, I spent like 1 month or two just to migrate the version of Swift because the syntax is changed, because the libraries that I was using in that developing um, stopped the support for the libraries, stopped the support to migrating its own libraries to a new version. So it's kind of headache when when a new Swift version comes up, and but it happened in all the languages, I think.
It does, yeah. I mean, I've experience on the C# and .NET world. Even when the new versions of .NET come now with .NET 5, .NET 6, and even .NET Core, migrations are not so
It's not too
simple.
easy. No,
Not
it's
so. I
not.
mean, mostly syntax wise it's same, but there are some deprecated libraries or some special things that will fail that you need to take care. So yeah, I understand, and I guess for mobile there should be really special cases that you need to care about when
Yeah,
migrating from one
and
version to the other.
yeah, exactly. And for example, one thing that helped a lot was that in 2015 to 2016, I think, Swift was open source, and we remember that all the community started to improve the language itself. So that helped a lot to improve the compiler time, and other things. But right now we have a Swift a stable version of Swift, and you. I'm pretty sure that in the coming versions of Swift, you just need to dealing with libraries, maybe with third-party libraries that you are using in the project, but not with
Nice.
your own code.
Nice, nice. So, in the coming in the releases of different versions of Swift, in your opinion, is it really has been there be an improvement in the syntax and in overall and libraries or components or whatsoever changes have been made through time, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I have seen that the improvements has been in the performance of the execution of the instructions,
Okay,
the additions that we have in some structures like arrays or uh, primitive data, or because we have like an array, and you can uh, call a function typing a dot, filter this, or dot for each this, and we haven't that in a few years ago. So those improvements helped a lot to the Swift, and the development has been a little faster with those improvements. So in my opinion, I have seen just performance and additions to the library, to the framework.
nice. Another simple question: do you use a special IDE to code in Swift? Is it the one that officially comes in the MacBook, the Xcode,
Yeah,
or
it's
can you use something else?
you can use something else, but you have to use other IDs, like for example, we know React Native using these languages has its own ID. But officially, for Apple development, you just have to use Xcode, and Xcode it just runs in a Mac OS. You have to have a Mac OS that it's something that, in my opinion, it's not too good for the development. But they force you to use a Mac, and you can't developing an iOS applications in Windows, for example. Officially, you
Correct.
to install the Xcode, you need a Mac OS,
Or at
and
least it needs to, or at least the compiling needs to go through the Xcode, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. At least for example, if you have I don't remember the framework, but it used React Native.
Hmm.
You don't need to have the Xcode directly. It's just the command line to execute the application. But you develop
Correct.
all the applications using React Native. Uh, but at the end, for example, if you develop an iOS applications using React Native or another a framework, at the end to upload the app that you develop, you need to use Xcode tools or app tools to upload your app to the App Store. You can't just drag and drop directly to the App Store your application. You need to use the app lock tools.
Yeah, still, Apple has that restriction, right? Has had
Yeah,
that restriction for so many years, and
yeah,
it still does.
yeah.
Is there like a way to do it on the cloud or something, or are there any services that you know of?
At the moment, uh, I haven't do a research about if there's another tools to upload applications right now. I don't know if in the last 2021 WWDC came with tools to upload the applications, but there should be a tool there to upload. But Apple still have these restrictions. They wanted to use their tools. They want you to use their tools to upload the apps to the App Store.
Yeah, I know some hybrid options that you can use, but at the end you need to go. Everything needs to go through a Mac,
So
physical
yeah,
Mac, or some
through
kind of
Apple tools.
services.
So at the
Or
end,
Apple tools, yeah. But at the end, it's like a physical Mac that you have to go through.
yeah.
Yeah, and it is what it is for
Yes,
iOS development, right?
at least for iOS developer, yeah, they
All
force
right,
us.
all right. What do you think? Before going to some other topics, what do you think about the hybrid development? I mean, in other tools some experience that you have.
Talking about hybrid tools, hybrid frameworks, like for example Flutter, React Native, Ionic, they have their own advantages, uh, but it depends of the product that you want to build. For example, if you if you have a product that it's simple, that you want to speed up to send it to the market, you can use these tools. But if you have a complex app that needs a lot of features that involve the physical features, like, I don't know, Face ID, or the location, or the communication between the application and a Bluetooth device. At the end, you will need to develop a native piece of code, or a native piece of module to your app. This, unless you find a third-party library that does that, the things that you want. You know, I don't know if I explained myself a little bit, but for example, if you build an application in Ionic, at the end you are building a UI view, a web view.
Correct.
You just have a native application, but one screen with a web view, and all the things that you're watching and you are interacting with are web, and you don't have this performance of the device, of the hardware. You are using a website at the end. An advantage, or in React Native, for example, the advantage that React Native has is that all the UI, it's built in a native code. I mean, React Native takes the code that you're developing and creates the native components, but all the business logic that happen there, like requests, or the models that you have in your structure, the network layer, all that code works in JavaScript. You are not using Swift at the end. React Native it creates a bridge between the UI and your business logic in JavaScript, but no, you are not using the native code, and you have a better performance between React Native and Ionic. But if you have native applications and you compare native applications with an application made in React Native, you will have a better performance in a native application, because a native application use all the resources in the device, and it's not making a bridge or a wrapper that communicates the UI with another thing. No, you have the code that you need to execute, and it doesn't to have to I mean, how to explain that? It shouldn't have an extra instructions or another process.
Correct.
You
Yeah, it's
execute the code as it is.
Yeah, makes sense. It's because you're coding directly on a native way.
in a native
Uh,
way.
but but uh, but
But
at
it
the end,
works
exactly, it works.
to speed up your development, and you can send
Yeah.
both applications in iOS and Android with the same code. Okay, it works, but don't expect that you have an applications with the same features or the same functionality that came with the new iOS 15, because you will need to wait until React Native create its own libraries with the new features that came in iOS 15. You know?
Nice, nice. That's a great point. And I think, in my opinion, I think it's cool to have those hybrid and for mobile development like React Native, Flutter, Xamarin, all that stuff.
It help a lot
It's, it helps
because
a lot to speed up the development, and it
yeah,
might be suitable for many projects, right? It might depend on the type of application
it
and
depends.
type of, yeah.
You need to think in the mobile development. You need to think what's your target, how complex is your app, what's the functionality that you would like to have in your app. And taking those points, you would decide, okay, I will use a framework in React Native because I don't need the new features of the React Native, but I have the need of send my application in both platform with one application. If my application works in the market, I would use another time to develop the application in a native language. Meanwhile, I'm going to send it in an hybrid framework.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? I mean, maybe for the time to market, it's good, so you can gain some time.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, nice. Now going back to the iOS and Swift development itself. Now we talk a little bit about hybrid and mobile development in general. I mean, we could spend so much time in a conversation about this, and you are, especially with you are an expert on this. But now let's talk about Swift UI, something that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
What can you tell me about it?
SwiftUI came to improve the way how we develop the UI in our applications. Um, Before iOS 13, we needed to use storyboards as to drag and drop the component, connect the component to the code, uh, style the components with instructions, uh, and in this way to develop works very well. But um, right now, using new architectures, well, not new architectures, but changing the way how we are developing the new interfaces, user interfaces in development in the mobile development. They found that, for example, taking again the React Native and Flutter, for example, they are using reactive programming to develop the applications. And we have seen that, or at least in my opinion, I have seen that it's a little easier to develop applications. The user interface. I'm going to talk about user interface because SwiftUI is just that, is developing Swift user interfaces in a better manner. I think using these imperative and declarative, for example, implementations. What's an imperative implementation? One example that I liked and I read in a forum, I think, it's like imperative is, for example, if I wanted to buy a bottle of water to a supermarket, my instructions are: go to the supermarket, take your money, go to the supermarket, open the refrigerator door, take the bottled water, and you have to do all the instructions to achieve your goal, I think. But in a declarative manner, you just need to know how what do you want to do. I mean, it's like imperative. It's about how you will get the bottle of water, and the declarative approach is how it's about what you want to achieve. I'm gonna explain this
Okay,
in a better way with the code, but
perfect.
uh, but we have this reactive programming in SwiftUI came with this reactive programming that everything it's like a signal. I mean, a tap in the screen is a signal. When you tap a keyboard, a letter in your keyboard is a signal. When you receive a response from a request, it's a signal. So you need to change the way how you think the operations. And SwiftUI helps you to update your UI in a faster way. And uh, SwiftUI is like it's a framework that what works in a similar way as we did in with UIKit with storyboards, but it's a little faster. Create the user interfaces. Even we can create a demo. I have a demo to show
Perfect, perfect. I mean, that would
how is
be
developing in
that would
SwiftUI.
be the best if you wanna if we wanna showcase a quick demo of what are we talking about, especially to me because I'm a remember I'm just a newbie in the terms of iOS development.
Yeah,
So yeah,
but it's really it's you need to change a little bit. I for example, when I started to learn reactive programming, I found a little complex in the way how to understand the signals, because at the end everything in reactive programming is asynchronous. Everything, the
yeah,
tabs, the keyboards, you need to understand that all those operations are asynchronously, works asynchronously, and you have to understand that all the inputs or operations are signals. At the end, you have a when you tap in, when you fill a text field, it's a signal, and you need to work those signals in the way that you want to in the way that you want. I mean,
nice, nice. So do you want to go ahead with the demo or are we good?
yeah, sure.
Okay, you can if you want you can share your screen in the middle button there.
Okay, let me share the screen a little quick. Let me know
Nice.
when you.
Let me add the screen to the. I think we can see it now. Perfect.
Yeah,
Cool.
sure. I already create the app, a little to do app to speed up the demo.
Nice,
But
nice.
I'm going to explain a little React Native or not React Native. Sorry, reactive programming that it's
Yeah.
using in SwiftUI. For example, we have here a content view that it's my view itself. Even another improvement that we have in SwiftUI is that we have a preview of the view that we are building, and these help us to speed up the designing of the screen. We don't have to run the app and see how it's looking, the record, the text field, the button. We are doing it here, and we are having the result in real time. Uh, that's an improvement, for example, in SwiftUI. For speed up the demo, I worked with an architecture, MVVM architecture, where where we have the models, the view models, and the views. We have here the model that it's just a little class that is set to do. For example, if you haven't developed in Swift, you can easily understand what I'm doing here. I mean, it's a class that few properties and initializer.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty.
that's it.
It's pretty understandable.
Yeah,
for
exactly,
any
and readable.
for any exactly readable, understandable for almost every software developer.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
would say.
If I don't have an Objective C class here, but if you see an Objective C class, this would be in 2 files. It would be much more complex, declaring a property, etc. But that's another topic.
Yeah, go ahead.
uh, uh, we have our view model that it's following we gonna have here our classes that's gonna store our to-do tasks and a function, because all our business logic should be in our view model. That's the rule of the MVVM architecture. And we have our views, that is the content view. As I said, to speed up the demo, I built the list and the to-do row that we are going to show. As you can see here, for example, I can easily add another text that said this is a new row, for example.
So you have
And
okay, you have the view model and the views already created, and okay.
Yeah, and for example, I can see directly here how it's looking. I'm gonna change, for example, the spacing of the view. I can easily change if I don't want an horizontal stack. I can use a V stack and automatically change the UI, and I don't need to run the app. Imagine that in the starting of your app, you have a request and to load the records, and it takes 2 minutes or 1 minute to load the application. You don't need to wait that. So that this helps us a lot to design the app a little faster.
This is great. It's kind of like a web development-ish, as you said, like reactive programming
Oh
or in
yeah,
general web development, that you just don't need to compile
yeah.
everything. You just basically
You
save
need to
or anything.
compile. That I can change, for example, the name of the checkbox and see the result as real quick. I mean, this helped us a lot in the development of the UI. So for the demo, I want to create. First of all, if I run the app, I'm gonna. It takes a little seconds here to run the app. Give me a minute.
It runs on some emulator that it comes, the Xcode comes with, right? Okay.
Right now, I just have my list and my dummy task that I added into my model. Okay. As I said, reactive programming works with the next concept. We have a class that it's an observable object. This means this class I don't know when, but it could change its properties, and I want to broadcast a message to all those views that are using my class. And for my class, I have this property that it may change in the runtime when I'm using the application. So when this property change, I'm gonna send a broadcast to all the views, and all the views are gonna do something with that new value. That's a signal. For example, if I
this is totally reactive programming, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
If I
lot like
add a task, I'm gonna change my array, and that's a signal. I'm adding a new task. So my signal it's listened by views. And in this case, I'm creating this class, this property using my to-do list view model. And my to-do list view is using that model. In my list, I'm listening these tasks, you know. So when that model change, I'm gonna receive the list, and and when I say that this is a declarative, sorry, an imperative manner, I just want to tell to the view that I want a list with these records and show me this view. I don't know how, but you need to show me a list with these records, you know? I'm gonna show you, for example, in an storyboards, what are the instructions for that. This is an example of using storyboards.
Okay.
I have a table view. I have a text field that I'm gonna add in this demo. This is not in the demo right now, but I have a table view, and I'm doing the same here. I'm adding a new text to the model. I need to clean the text field. I need to reload the data, the table view, sorry, and I need to tell to the table view how many records are in the model and how create the cell. And as you can see, I need to create every step that I need to do the app.
Correct.
With SwiftUI, I just need to create a list and listening in listening just and listen, sorry, just the model I'm watching, I am serving. And just that, I don't need to tell to the list how many records this property has. I don't need to tell what view is receiving the list. I just need to show a list, and that's it. So
All right.
I'm gonna add, for example, a text field to add a new task here. And for example, I'm gonna add each stack because I want to add an horizontal stack. I'm gonna add a text field with what's your plan here? I'm gonna bind it to an observable object.
Okay.
And this is my new task. Okay, so I'm gonna create a property, a new task, that this property is going to receive every signal that that is sending the text field. This means every time that I type something in the text field is gonna be stored in my variable.
All right.
And I don't and again, I don't need to tell to the text field every time that type a keyboard, you need to store this value in this variable. No, I just bind the variables here. I'm gonna add a little styling to the view. I'm gonna see how it's looking. It's taking a little time.
No worries.
Yeah, Xcode still has its own errors. And we have here our text field. And I'm gonna add an image to add our to plus button. As you can see, as soon as I ended to type the image button, I have the result in the UI.
Yeah, I can see.
I'm gonna make it resizable, scale it to fill its container, and the frame, I'm gonna have it with 40 pixels by 40 pixels. And to the stack view, I'm gonna add a little padding.
Nice,
Okay.
nice. Now you're working with CSS here, kind of.
Exactly. Something similar to that. So when I tap in the image, I'm gonna do something that is add a new task, right? So I'm gonna create this function here and add a new task. And I'm gonna create a new task here to do tasks with a title. Which title? The one that I stored in my new task.
Correct.
I don't need to get it from the text field because that's already
It's just
that
already
happened.
stored there.
It's already stored
Mhm.
because that happened when every time that I type in the text field. I don't need to get the value there. So I'm gonna call to my list view model and add the task, a new task. Okay, and I'm gonna restart my variable to an empty string because I want to add a new one. So I haven't let me see. I'm gonna stop the building. Okay, so if you as you can see, in any moment I haven't called to reload the list. I'm just adding
Right.
the task to my model, but in
Mhm.
any moment I haven't reload my table view as I did in uh, as I did in here.
So basically, in story, I mean, to see, put it in uh, simple terms, you in storyboard you needed to manipulate a little bit more the UI part. Uh,
Can you say it again?
with storyboard, you needed to manipulate a little bit more the I mean the UI
Yeah,
components, the
you need to
views
do
or
it.
tables or whatever you were using to show
Yeah,
stuff, right?
you need to do it step by step. Okay,
Okay.
take if I were using for example Swift and storyboards, I would need to do this thing. For example, my task text field dot text, and then
Yeah, yeah.
this
Kind of the old way of programming ish
exactly,
in a lot of okay, yeah.
and then after add my text to the model table, whatever it is, dot reload data because I already added a new data to the array, and I don't need to do that because this is already done in with these observable objects
Correct.
because they react to that modifications. So I'm gonna run that.
All right.
Well, let me add
Yeah,
a little title here.
yeah, that's what I can see in simple, in really summary and simple. Yeah, as you said at the beginning, it's kind of the reactive programming, right?
Yeah,
Kind of
exactly.
similar. I mean, everything is uh, programming in the same way.
Another task, for
Another
example,
task, and it will be added to the list, and that's
and
it.
I'm adding it to the list, but I
Mhm.
don't need to. Why? Because at the moment I add a new task, I'm sending to my list view model. My
Mhm.
list view model is modifying my variable that is broadcasting the message that to all the views that is using it, and say, hey, I have changed, so do something with me with the new values. And the to-do list said, okay, the task has changed, I need to reload the list, and that's it. You don't need to worry about uh, how to reload and when reload the data.
Nice, nice.
um,
It's really cool.
and that's it. I mean, we have a little um, um, oh, the instruction is not, shouldn't be here, shouldn't be here. And another, for example, uh, another features that I like in SwiftUI is that we can easily create components in our view. For example, maybe I can use this piece of code and create my component as simple as I create for example, SwiftUI view and put text view, for example, and put task view. I'm gonna grab this piece of code and add it to my new view here. I'm gonna send my observables to its own component. I'm gonna need this kind of class here because I need to bind this here to add my task.
Okay.
And this is called dependency injection.
Oh, okay. Okay.
To-do list view. To-do list view. What's dependency injection? I depends of this model to work to this view works for me. I'm gonna say this is the part to preview this side of the screen. As you can see, I have the same component that just created.
Okay. Okay.
And you can see just the view. And so instead of create all those things, I'm gonna just do that with my new component, and I have the same result.
Nice. So now
So
you have a reusable
can,
component.
yeah, and you can easily create or refactor your code and create its own component to make it reusable using dependency injection in VVM programming.
Nice.
And
Nice.
this is
Perfect.
the way how we can develop user interfaces in SwiftUI.
Perfect. This is really cool. This is reminds me a lot of when I was doing a little bit of reactive programming in Angular, and I think it's React is kind of similar. Simple.
It's pretty
but
similar.
It's with components.
At least all the concepts are the same in Angular, and a lot of frameworks used reactive programming. And right now, SwiftUI is using because they have seen that it helps a lot and improve the speed up of the creation of the UI. And honestly, for example, iOS, I'm gonna stop to sharing the screen.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sure. And I forgot the things that I was saying, but
We were talking about how similar it is to reactive programming and
to
all that
reactive
stuff.
programming. Yeah, I mean, with Objective-C and Swift using storyboards, we a lot of the architectures that we use in the iOS development is the MVC architecture, because MVC was the official architecture for iOS at the beginning, but then came a new architectures like MVIP, MVVM, and we have seen that in SwiftUI force you to create this kind of architecture that allow you to create more modular applications to make it more. You can make it grow easily instead of use MVC, and even the architecture of MVC is good, but in the long term, you will have thousands of lines of code in one file, and we don't want that, because it's going to be a headache providing a support of that files. So these architectures of MVVM and using reactive programming, and it forces you to make it modular and make it with good programming practices.
Nice, nice. This is really cool. I mean, it's reminds me of how nowadays how similar programming is between. I mean, the web and mobile. It's getting similar in a way. I mean, in a way of. I mean, this looks really similar to reactive programming, and the patterns and the design is almost the same. And how we basically we just need to apply best practices in all the coding that we do, and we will achieve
Yeah,
great results.
yeah, we need to improve our coding, and one of the steps that we can follow to improve the coding is mm, um, implement good practices, the best practices in coding. Make it
Nice.
make it modular, make it create your insert comments. There are we can have another
We can have an
chapter
episode
for
about
that
best
topic.
practices.
Another
Best
episode for
practices.
best practices in
I could
coding.
have
Yeah.
I could have episodes on best practices for mobile or for web or for whatever we're doing, and they would be really. I would be surprised if they are. I wouldn't be surprised if if they're really similar.
They're
Because I mean
really similar.
the
Yeah.
architecture design and best practices apply same. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Pretty same.
this was really cool. I mean, it was really was a pleasure to have you in this episode, Adrian. This was really cool, and I really hope to have another one with more details. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of things to share on iOS programming, which is
Yeah, sure.
it's really
Yeah,
cool.
and I'm glad to be here, and glad to be in your channel, and I have seen your content, and it's pretty interesting.
Oh, thank you,
It's
thank you. And it's an honor that you were part of it, and I hope we can have more episodes like this. It was really
yeah,
cool.
sure.
Thank you so
I will
much.
prepare something if you invite me.
Cool, cool, cool. Thank you so much, and also thanks to anyone that watched. Thank you, and see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.